How green are nuclear and gas? Well, they could soon count as sustainable green investments following a landmark proposal from the European Commission.
The plan's facing fierce opposition from campaigners and investors and has split EU countries, with Austria threatening to take legal action if this becomes law. The Commission says there'll be strict low-carbon conditions for gas and nuclear power plants to receive a green investment label. Well, Johannes Schroeten is a policy advisor at E3G working on sustainable finance in the EU. Johannes, welcome. How on earth did we get to a place where gas and nuclear can be labelled by the EU as sustainable?
Thank you very much for having me. Yeah, very good question. I think the EU actually started out with a very good idea. That was to establish a gold standard for sustainable financial products, which would clearly state that whatever investments are in these financial products would actually only flow into sustainable and green activities. And what we've seen now is that through the national politics of member states and their respective energy priorities, this process, which was expert-driven and science-driven, has now been subverted and has been trumped by what member states have identified as their short-term energy goals, and that is to invest in nuclear and gas.
It's the story of realpolitik, isn't it? I mean, given the current international energy crisis, it's perhaps understandable that global supplies of gas and nuclear energy are part of the future of energy markets and not left in the ground while the world tries to develop more sustainable energy.
Yes, I think there's hardly any doubt that gas and perhaps nuclear, depending on a country's specific choices, are part of the transition towards a low-carbon future. But this is not what the taxonomy is about. The taxonomy is really just this sort of very firm standard of what should be counted as green. So it should be, taken outside of this debate around the energy crisis, etc., because it doesn't really have any purpose in that. No one is forbidding investments into gas and nuclear.
It is clear, isn't it, that the EU doesn't speak with one voice on this. I mean, there are clearly very many divergent views and now legal action too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's very fair to say that the taxonomy has exposed that the member states have very different ideas on what their energy transition will look like. And I think the Commission hasn't done itself a favor by sort of taking this discussion into the taxonomy debate. I think there would have been other fora where, there is no question that France can continue to its path on nuclear energy, and Germany will probably have to invest a little bit in gas in order to achieve at 100% renewable energy towards 2050. But it is a very sad process indeed that the taxonomy debate has been affected by these kind of controversies.
And I wonder, where does this leave the EU's rather lofty commitments and ambitions on climate change?
Well, it certainly isn't, let's say, a positive sign from the EU, that's for sure. I think the EU has rightly claimed to be a climate leader so far. I think the ambitious goals around climate neutrality until 2050 and also the actual legislative packages that are now being prepared, the Fit for 55 package, etc., are a step in the right direction. And that this leadership ambition is now torpedoed by, again, short-term energy policy interests from member states is really sad. And indeed, we already do see that at least in this labeling part. So there are other countries and jurisdictions who are preparing their own taxonomies so that the EU standard could either influence those countries, as it's done in South Korea, which has now labeled gas also as green, or in the case of China, which has 2 years ago decided to take gas out of its green bond standard, that other jurisdictions are now a front runner in this field.
Johannes Schroeten, thank you very much for coming on the programme. Good to talk to you.